Welcome back to the second video on my Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord coverage for E3 2017. Now I'm very excited to bring you some analysis of the long extended gameplay that we did see. Now of course I did a video previously, if you haven't seen that go check that out now. I would start with that one on the trailer that we saw earlier when it was first announced, and now we get a more extended gameplay. This is about 6 minutes long. I'm not going to show you the whole video. If you want to go see that, of course there'll be a link in the description. I really want you to go and support Tailward's channel out, but I'll be cutting it up and giving through my analysis so you guys can maybe find out some things that you didn't see before, or just maybe find an entertaining video. I don't know, but let's get straight into it. So, of course, when we first loaded up the amount of troops, I have said this in the other video, but it is just staggering, the formations and the amount of troops that we can see. But additional to that, something I noticed at the very beginning, and I don't think I've mentioned in any of my Bannerlord videos in the past, is to do with sound design. Now, sound design is extremely important in a game, and especially as a game like this, to create the atmosphere of being in the medieval knight's shoes. Now, if you listen very carefully in a second, I'll play it to you. Just listen to the sound of the hooves on the horse. And I know a lot of you might not be able to appreciate this, but the sound design on it is really good. I just love the new sounds that they've put into this game. So I'll play you that clip now. I know many of you probably won't understand why this is such a big thing for me, but I love sound design. I love the different sounds that developers can come up with, how authentic they can make them, how amazing they can make them sound. And this is just something that really stood out to me when the gameplay first came on. Now, this is a little bit weird, and I don't know if this is just a early gameplay sort of thing, but if you look in the bottom right, in Warband, you had the shield and the weapon you were using. That is not in this game. There's a shield, but there is no weapon in the hand, and you see when they change between the lance and the sword, nothing changes. There's just nothing there. Now, of course, this is something very different to Warband that I don't think I was quite expecting. It's not a massive change. I don't think it'll be a massive deal. It might cause some issues, maybe, if you're not concentrating. That was just a small, minor change that I noticed. We saw some really cool types of cavalry as well. I think there's more detail in this than we saw in the trailer, but the types of cavalry that we'll be looking at. Now, we did see some screenshots, some of the heavy cavalry, which is awesome, but we saw some quite up and detailed ones here. He actually ran into a very heavy cataphract type cavalry, and I noticed the plume on the head. That was a nice design idea that they've put in. But of course, we have the general cavalry that are less armoured, and of course they'll have their advantages and disadvantages with speed and armour in there as well. Now, the formations are on the side of the screen, and this has been in some of the Bannerlord gameplay that I've seen before, but I've never really addressed it, and I think I'm probably going to do it in this video since it's a massive part of the game. You need to be able to have these formations to make sure you can get the troops in the right place at the right time, and it all piles up to the amount that this is how you win the game with your tactics and strategy. Now, what can we see here in these side of the screen formation tabs? The movement, the facing of your troops, the form, the width, fire, horses, commander, and transfer. Now, movement obviously is where you want your troops to go, places that you would use to get the tactics going, and you'll be able to move them around your enemy flanking and things sort of that. Facing, of course, that's kind of self-explanatory, the direction that you want your troops to face. Form, I'm guessing just from the little icon we see there, is to do with formations. We can see the little icon is there in a block formation at the moment, and we saw that at the start of the video once again. Fire is, of course, if you're firing at will. Maybe we're going to have some sort of volley fire system. That'll be awesome. Or it might just be fire at will and hold your fire. Horses, of course, dismount, mount your horses. Maybe we're going to have some sort of special abilities with horses that we might see in that. Commander. Now, Commander is something that I'm not completely sure what they're going to include in there, but towards the little icon, it looks like this is how you get up the menu where you get a little flag on your battlefield, and you can go and place that marker down as well. So you can kind of tell your guys where to go if you're not standing in that exact place. And the last one, transfer. Now, this is interesting, and this is my take on it. It looks like this guy who is playing the game is playing with an AI lord or sort of ally in there. This means that maybe you can transfer troops between them. Transfer troops from one army to the other in case, you know, you need more troops in your army, or you want them to go flank and you don't have the time to put the cavalry around the sides. You give them your cavalry squad and they can do it for you. I'm guessing that's what the transfer is, but don't hold me to that. It is not definite. That's just my speculations. Now, I think this subcategory is within the movement one, as, you know, I kind of take it from there, all sort of related to movement. First one is position. Now, it's saying that you go to a certain position. Probably you have a marker and you set it to this point and they'll all go there. Charge, we know what charge is. Follow me, self-explanatory. Guard me, you can get them to go around. So if you're probably under heavy attack, I know what I used to do in Warband. If I start to get surrounded, I just get my troops to follow me and they come towards me. But guard me, I guess they're going to be more aggressive towards the enemy around you. Stop right in their place, kind of hold the position that they're in at the moment. Attach, that is interesting. Now I think, of course, speculation once again, that you can attach 2 units or multiple units together. This way, if you have cavalry or spearmen, maybe you can attach them together and move them as one, which means they can kind of compensate each other and help each other towards the battlefield, and you only have to do one set of orders instead of doing separate orders for each unit. You can also retreat, which I guess just means pull back. Maybe it's actually retreat off the whole battlefield, which is interesting to see. Instead of having the tab button and clicking the retreat, maybe you have to actually do it systematically. And this is very interesting. I've just thought about this. If you click the retreat button in Warband, you just went out of the game completely. But if you do it in Bannerlord, if it means they all have to run off, you're going to lose casualties as you go off the battlefield. And in warfare, historical warfare, most of the losses were within the retreat and the routing phase, as people were getting chased down as they just dropped their weapons and ran. And of course, we have the return one. Now, this return one, I guess, is not a formation. Actually thinking about it, it's probably just going back to the other tab before. Now, what about some of the animations? Some cool animations were equipping a weapon. You can see as he equips his lance, he gets it over his head, because this is a long thing. You're not just going to be able to grab it out your back like in Warband. You have to get it out carefully, get it over your head, and get it ready into position. Some other cool animations, like I said in the trailer one, was issuing orders to your men, so you're kind of waving your sword about, so they know, even if they can't hear you, they know what you're doing. There's also the smaller animations that I noticed, like the horse's hair. Now this is beautiful. You can see as you're running, the horse's hair sways in the wind, depending which way you go, depending the horse's hair goes. And I know it's a tiny one, and I know people will probably be having to go at me for being a massive nerd, but yes I am, and I'm proud of it. And I know that Mount and Blade Bannerlord looks beautiful in my opinion, and this is just one of the smaller things that really just brings it out and makes it stand out with other games in the back. Now looking at the map size, it looks humongous, pardon the pun. I don't know if we have any confirmation of the official map size of course, the in-game battle maps. But we do know that the world map is 4 times bigger than the Warband one, but of course, the in-game battle maps, we don't have any confirmation of the exact size. Maybe it's going to vary, maybe it's not, but they do look massive. And of course, to accompany for the 1,000 troops, supposedly, on the battlefield, we're going to need pretty big maps. Now, another thing towards sound that I haven't mentioned before is the in-game soundtrack. Now, there are a few clips of some of the different factions' themes, but is this the in-game soundtrack that we can hear here? Of course, we can hear the sound of hooves and things like that, so they've obviously not muted and put their own sounds over it, so maybe this is the soundtrack that you will get in a game that we witness in this gameplay trailer. I'll play a little bit of it to you now. A really cool thing that I did notice is if you look at the top every now and then, some text will come up with a little face next to it. I think this is one of the lords that the player is allied with. He has given the player orders and advice. Of course, you don't have to do it, but maybe if the AI can see something and you're not in that position, they'll know what to do. And this shows that Bannerlord has got amazingly improved AI. You can see him saying, go attack the flank, charge them while they're still down, get round my side, and maybe you can support me there. That is a great addition. So even if you're going into battle with the Lord, you're not commanding everything, and no one's just charging in. You're each doing your own thing, and of course you can suggest things to each other, where you're able to win the battle as a team, and not just an individual player. Dynamic blood comes onto the weapons, of course, and flows out of bodies. You can see some of the things where you're slicing the enemy, and of course stabbing spears and lances into their back. The blood is just gushing out, which is absolutely awesome to see. I really do love that. And like I said, AI improved, seems to be a lot more responsive and clever. Now, something I noticed that many people might not have spotted is that there are 2 different battles going on here. Cavalry charges in at the beginning, and they have to deal with this cavalry. Of course, the AI Lord is telling the actual player where this cavalry is and how to attack it. So the whole time you're focusing on this cavalry battle, you don't actually notice that the infantry of the enemy is still on the hill. So the enemy Lord has said, hey, we need to keep our infantry on this hill. This is the best position for our infantry, but it's the best way for our cavalry to get around the back and see what damage they can do at the beginning. At Warband, everyone stayed together. Cavalry and infantry and archers stayed in the same place with the AI. They charged at the same time, they held back at the same time. Bannerlord is going a very different route. It's more realistic and it's better tactics that are going to make the battles a lot more tricky, but it's going to make them more fun as well. You've got people doing different things, AI doing different orders to different types of units. Ragdoll Animations, beautiful. They are what make a game extremely entertaining to play and satisfying when you're slicing people off horses. This is absolutely great. I love that they've added and improved these Ragdoll animations. Once again, we have infantry that seem to be fighting in formation more. They're not just splitting off and doing their random thing. They seem to be fighting in the formation. They're fighting and dying together. They're not retreating. Of course, if you give the retreat command, that's going to be a possible thing. But these guys are fighting in formation, and that's going to be better for your chances to win, of course, because infantry are stronger depending on who they're going against in formations. Now, we do have this in warband, but something cool is, of course, you can pick that little flag menu up and you can put the flag wherever, order guys to go in different places. And the sheer amount of bodies in the video is insane. The bodies just all over the floor. They don't seem to be spawning, and this shows the potential of the Bannerlord engine. Tale Wars have done a great job of developing this engine, and because we've got so many troops on the battlefield, that is one thing. But when they die, they don't vanish, they stay there, and that is incredible. We have so many troops just scattered over the battlefield, and it makes for this immersive, bloody but brutal, but yet somewhat beautiful scene. And of course, at the end of the video, we see the stat screen, which you can see how many kills each troop got, and of course your enemies and your allies' troops. And then at the very end, we see a beautiful sunset, and this just tops the video off for me. Seeing the graphics of this game, seeing the animations, seeing the different mechanics that we're going to be getting, seeing the troops, and seeing all this together has just made me so happy about Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Yes, we may not have got exactly what we wanted in terms of information, but do not worry, more will be coming in the very near future. Like I said, this is my spam of E3 videos where I'm going to be getting all the information to you, and I hope you guys love it so much. But until then, guys, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to this channel for all of the Bannerlord news as soon as it comes out. But until then, I will see you in the next one.